Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today it's time for an episode of the Back Pages, a special winter break special of the Back Pages. It's that time of the season. It has been pushed forward, of course. This wasn't anticipated for at least another couple of weeks, but here we are. We've got the winter break. It's going to be a struggle for content over the next 3 weeks, I would imagine, but we'll cope, and we may as well kick it off with a wee special of the Back Pages. Last week of the year then, let's push and push and push to get as many subscribers on board as possible. If you haven't already, please go down below and hit the big red subscribe button. It's absolutely free, costs you nothing for free content as often as possible. We are nearly done with 2021. Thank you all for the support you've given me this year, and hopefully we have as many folk on board as possible for the year 2022. So we know what today's video is. It's the Back Pages. We've got the newspaper here. We're going to talk about everything that's featured on the back in regards to yesterday's Boxing Day fixtures. Celtic 3-1 winners, of course, up in Perth against St Johnstone to keep them in the same sort of position. 6 points behind Rangers heading into the winter break. It's came at a good time for Celtic. And let's talk about the timing of that winter break before we dissect what's in the back pages of the newspapers. As we did with the last episode of the Back Pages, let's talk about more reaction in the media this week, and more particularly towards yesterday in regards to that winter break. There has been a lot of talk about it, and I've spoken about it on this channel umpteen times, and I don't need to really make my opinions any more clear, but I want to talk about it for probably the final time, hopefully, as to why this was the right decision and why Ange Postecoglou's response yesterday is spot on when it comes to making this the right decision. This break had to be moved. It had to be. Not just because Celtic are missing 18 first-team players. That's not the reason. The reason is we want fans on the ground. And yes, as I've had Rangers fans tell me many times, it is naive to think that perhaps in 3 weeks' time we will have full stadiums back. But there is the chance of it, and I'd rather take that chance than sit through an empty stadium for the next 3 weeks, especially when we've got a derby on. I would rather wait and see if we can get fans in for that derby in 3 weeks' time and move the break forward when it makes literally no difference. But we're going to have the break anyway. It makes zilch difference. The timing, yes, it might help Celtic out in the sense that we have players out injured, but it's helping every club out, and I think it was just needed in general to try and break up this sort of COVID-ridden fucking period we're in. You look at Dundee, for example, having to register their assistant manager. The joke was, you know, that is the kind of situation we're in. So yeah, I think it was perfect. Ange Postecoglou was asked about it yesterday, and I want to talk about his reaction. Now, before the game was starting, and they had the punditry on, and they had my favourite Chris Boyd starting us off on the programme, he was talking about why the break shouldn't have been moved. And one of his quotes, I believe, was, "When are we going to play these games?" Well, you know, probably on the days that they've been rescheduled, Chris. That's the whole point in this. They have rescheduled the games. They do have dates for them, Chris. So that was the first thing that annoyed me. But he was going on and on and on about how the break shouldn't have went on, and he was against it being moved, and you know, it's only suits Celtic or whatever. Absolute nonsense. So then Ange Postecoglou was asked after the game his thoughts on that sort of reaction, and his thoughts on the winter break itself, to which, and I'll put the graphic on screen, Ange Postecoglou responded, "The breaks come at the right time because I don't like to play in empty stadiums. We didn't want to keep playing, not because of any other reason. If anybody enjoyed today's game in here, then I'm sorry. They don't understand football. It's a different game from what I do. I like supporters here. I don't care if they're all away supporters. That's what the game is all about." I hit his nail on the head, and I know that, you know, people will go, of course you're going to back up your own manager. Well, we are going to back up the manager, but he's absolutely right. He's spot on. If you are, and I've said this before, if you are a Rangers fan and you are backing the idea of empty stadiums, then you're clueless. I don't find any room for debate here. I'm not going to go, "Oh, you're entitled to your opinion," because it's a shit opinion if you want stadium behind closed doors. Football is nothing without the fans. Celtic fans, Rangers fans, St Johnstone fans, whoever it is, as Ange says, I couldn't care if it's all away supporters. That was dreadful yesterday. It was a right bad throwback to last season when the stadiums were empty. It was a ghost town. It was nothing like the sport we recognise. Ange Postecoglou once more on the money with his response. And look, as well, Rangers have also requested the postponement of the derby game between the B teams. So it suddenly became, they've done a full 180 here. You know, it's one rule for one for the other. Seems like they're not too bothered when it comes to that. So then the back pages, we'll start with Celtic's headline, chaotic. Ange joy at crucial Perth win as COVID and injury leave hoops down to the bare bones. We seen that 18 eligible first team players were out yesterday through COVID related reasons or injury related reasons. Not a good position to be in. When that team was announced, I was very, very worried as to how that game could have went. I didn't doubt that we could win the game or we should have won the game, but I was just worried that we didn't play the way that we can. And we did play the way that we can. I thought we were very, very good yesterday. We got a good win, a big win, and it was important to keep that gap at 6 points between us and Rangers. Now, 6 points isn't ideal going into the winter break. I wish it was less. I wish ultimately we were top of the table. But to keep it there after a disappointing result midweek is pretty ideal. Rangers, their headline on the back page, Gio, new year will be a new fear for Jers league rivals. Van Bronckhorst has warned Rangers title rivals his side are out to be even stronger after the winter shutdown. So once again, even the Rangers manager kind of reinforcing the point that this winter break shouldn't matter that it comes now. But no, this will be interesting because, of course, the winter break in years gone by has always been a sort of downfall for Rangers, and that's not me taking a dig, I'm just being honest. You look at, not last season, but the 2 years before that when we did have fans in the stadium, the winter break, if you remember, was the joke for Celtic fans, as they always took the piss out of Rangers. It was when they collapsed. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes for Rangers now. Of course, a much more developed side, a side that will probably be able to deal with it in a better fashion than what they did in the past. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The Celtic headline, no, Ange Postecoglou admits Christmas was chaotic at Celtic before yesterday's win at St Johnstone. Now, you look at our form in the month of December, and when you seen that fixture list on the 1st of December, it was a worrying one. You're thinking, that's so many games, we've not got a big squad, we're going to have to try and get through that. And we did get through it. And to be honest, I think we got through it pretty well. St Mirren, yes, was disappointing, especially with the state that St Mirren were in that night. But in the grand scheme of things, the way we went through that month, with the European games, with the Cup games, and with the league games that we had to play, all in all, I think it was a pretty decent month for a Celtic side who don't have the greatest depth at the moment. We won 7 out of our 8 games in the month of December, including wins against Real Betis in Europe and Hibs in the Cup final. That's a pretty... Look, it would have been perfect. If it was 8 for 8, it would have been perfect. But when that month started, I don't know if we would have done that. I didn't know if we would have had as good a run of form. Ideally, I would have probably swapped out the Cup game, the Europa League game for the win against St Mirren, but it's still a successful month. A big double-page spread on Mr. Lee Elabada, who had a terrific performance yesterday. He scored a good couple of goals in a game that, probably has raised his eyebrows for a lot of people after a kind of disappointing couple of months. I've still been a big fan of him. I've been backing him, but I can honestly say he has been underwhelming at times. He's probably not provided the same quality that he did when he initially came into Celtic. But yesterday, I thought he was brilliant. He stepped up in a game that he had to step up in. When Kyogo went off the park, we were really relying on him to be the source of sort of the goals, especially. And he stepped up and done that. So, you can't really fault him for it. It was one of his best games, I think, so far in a Celtic jersey. And do you know what? His 2 goals were well taken as well. The one that kind of fumbles its way into the back of net is a little bit weird, but he does really well at first to get in the position he is. Barkas, a bit on him. It was a chance for him yesterday. Very happy for him. Of course, I've been a big backer of Barkas over the entirety of this channel's existence. And yeah, then we have a big kind of double page here. We made one mistake and we paid for it, so we have to be more ruthless. Beaton fires warning after win. Stand-in skipper near Beaton reckons Celtic will make life easier for themselves if they become more ruthless. And to be honest with you, Nero, I couldn't agree more. There is so many chances we waste, and we know this. We've been talking about this since day one of this season. The chances that we miss, the opportunities that go by, especially with like Kyogo, who's came out and said it himself. We could be winning games by 5, 6, 7 goals every week if we were just a little bit more ruthless. And then you don't need to worry about these mistakes that we make, because Starfelt, of course, makes that mistake yesterday. It allows St Johnstone back into the game, and if you're playing a different opponent, it could be a very different outcome. St Johnstone at the bottom of the league, you're not dealing with much quality there, but if you do that against a European opposition, higher in the table opposition, the game can change. It can change big time, and you have to try and be ruthless. You have to try and get yourselves a good bit ahead of everybody, I think. And I think Near Beaton hits it straight on the head. I think we do need to be more ruthless. But yeah, that's pretty much all the Celtic related stuff in the back pages there. A few things about players who came in yesterday. Obviously, a lot of discussion on the players themselves and their performances from yesterday's game. I didn't really check the hotline. The hotline's always the one that interests me. What is the quote of the day? I nearly choked to my cornflakes when I read 3 Saints players against... it's about that tweet because of St Mirren draw. I'm going to end it there. Okay, like and subscribe. See you next time.